She was the goddess of marriage, yet her own marriage was the most wounded union in Olympus. Crowned in gold and divine authority, Hera stood at the heart of order while betrayal burned inside her like a hidden fire. She was feared for her fury, mocked for her pain, and remembered too often only for her vengeance. But behind that rage lived a queen, trying to defend the sacred meaning of loyalty in a world ruled by appetite and power. Stay with this story, and the life of Hera will reveal itself as far more tragic than legend first suggests. Hera was born to Cronus and Rhea, among the mighty children shaped by the violence of the Titan Age. Before Olympus glittered above the world, her family already carried the scars of fear, prophecy, and power. Like her siblings, she came from a bloodline marked by swallowing, survival, and eventual rebellion against a tyrant father. When Zeus rose and the old order fell, Hera entered the new age not as a shadow, but as one of its central pillars. She became both sister and wife to Zeus, a union that bound love, royalty, family, and divine politics into one sacred throne. As Queen of Olympus, she was not merely beautiful or ceremonial, but a guardian of marriage, lawful bonds, and feminine dignity. Temples raised in her honor spoke of reverence, stability, and the solemn weight of social order. She belonged to a world of marble palaces, sacred altars, and immortal courts where every gesture carried consequence. Around her stood gods of war, desire, storm, music, hunt, craft, and prophecy, each embodying a force larger than mortal life. Hera ruled among them with poise, command, and a regal stillness that made her presence feel almost untouchable. Yet beneath the splendor of her rank, a fracture had already begun to form. The goddess who protected the sanctity of union was bound to a husband whose desires wandered endlessly. The queen who embodied legitimacy had to endure disrespect inside the very institution she was meant to defend. From the beginning, her story carried not only majesty but contradiction. And in that contradiction, the tragedy of Hera quietly took root. Zeus desired constantly, and his hunger moved through goddesses, nymphs, queens, and mortal women with unstoppable force. Each new affair was not just a private betrayal, but a public wound, carved into the dignity of Olympus itself. Hera could challenge him, resist him, even deceive him at times, but she could not fully unmake his power. So her anger often turned toward the women he pursued, and the children born from those unions. To later generations, that fury looked cruel, but inside myth it also reads as the anguish of humiliation without remedy. Hera did not simply lash out because she was jealous. She struck because every betrayal mocked the sacred order she represented. Among all the figures marked by her wrath, Heracles became the most famous target of her hatred. Even before his birth, Hera sought to deny him peace, and after his birth she haunted his life with danger, madness, and impossible suffering. In doing so, she transformed one hero's destiny into a battlefield for divine resentment. Her conflict with Leto and hostility toward other women linked to Zeus deepened the pattern. Again and again, Hera tried to reclaim control in a cosmos where honor was promised to her but peace was denied. Her punishments made her terrifying, yet they also exposed the depth of her wound. The more fiercely she defended her pride, the more mythology remembered her pain. And so the Queen of Marriage became one of the clearest symbols of power poisoned by betrayal. Yet Hera was never only a wronged wife trapped inside resentment. She remained one of the most politically formidable beings on Olympus, capable of influencing divine decisions and altering mortal destinies. When the balance of heaven shifted, her will could become as decisive as thunder. She knew how courts functioned, how alliances formed, and how dignity could be wielded like a blade. Even Zeus, for all his supremacy, could not treat her as irrelevant. Their marriage was a storm of rank, intimacy, rivalry, and mutual recognition. In some traditions, Hera's bond with Hephaestus adds another layer of sorrow to her story. The myths surrounding motherhood, rejection, and wounded pride give her character an ache that feels painfully human beneath divine grandeur. She could be cold, punitive, and relentless, yet never simple. She could be majestic in one scene and devastating in the next. That complexity is what saves her from becoming a flat symbol of jealousy. Hera stands instead as a portrait of authority, without emotional safety. She holds the crown, but cannot command fidelity. She protects the law, but cannot heal the insult done to her own heart. By the time her story settles into memory, she is neither villain nor victim alone, but a queen shaped by both power and injury. Hera does not die, fade, or fall into silence, because an Olympian endures beyond the rise and ruin of generations. She remains on Olympus as the eternal image of queenship, marriage, wounded dignity, and the cost of sacred vows betrayed. Her myth still speaks to the modern world, where institutions often appear glorious while hiding private suffering behind polished walls. In Hera, we see the pain of holding power without peace, and the loneliness of preserving order while breaking inside. Follow deeper into this mythic world, and her crown will lead you to many more stories waiting in the shadows of the gods.